What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake MLB DFS Wise Stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And of course, I'm from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed above or directly at WiseTake.com. If you're looking to take your DFS game to the next level, we are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community design. To help make you a better DFS player, go check us out. Day Pass is available. Still grinding at NBA too. If you're new to this channel, welcome. You came to the right place for some free DFS content, free fire DFS content. Please subscribe, hit the notifications bell. Don't miss out on any of the free content that we put out during the week. And if you could like the video, man, likes go a long way. Really help us out, allow us to continue to do what we do on the regular. And share the show. The more you share, the more we grow. The more we're able to put back into the products and do more dirties on YouTube. Chris Cox, what's up? See you in the chat. What's going on, man? Another very large slate. We've got on a Tuesday. We got a lot of pitchers, man. I'm sure there'll be some weather that we'll have to decipher between. This was a crazy weather day Monday, right? We had multiple games canceled, leading to some doubleheaders that we'll talk about in a second here. I think DraftKings may have forgotten about one game. We'll get to that. Well, basically, we'll get to it right now. It seems like DraftKings, they left off Coors because it's a doubleheader. I'm assuming that's why. But they have the Dodger-Cubs game, which is also a doubleheader. FanDuel did not include this because they don't ever include doubleheaders because of the 7th-inning thing. And I'm curious to see if DraftKings removes the game. We've seen them do that, and you didn't include one doubleheader. I would think that they may go ahead and remove this one as well. But we'll talk about that and some of the decisions you're going to have to make if they don't. Got a pretty cool comment from my boy Matt Noah. Going to read off his little comment that he left us on the last video. And I do appreciate the comments. I do read the comments. Says, this is probably the most important video I watch for MLB DFS. Nailing hitting comes and goes, but figuring out the pitching seems to always decide my days. Thanks for what you do. At least I'm free rolling today after taking down a soccer GPP. Shout out to you, Matt. GPP life. Loving it. Doing the soccer dirties. And I appreciate the comment, man. It's always nice to see those little pick me up comments. And we'd like to hear other people doing good. We'd like to hear other people having success. So feel free to drop some more. We appreciate you, man. Okay. Now we'll move on to this beast of a slate. We're going to start off with top pitching. Again, this is a first look show, so these are just the guys that kind of stand out to me. We've got 2021 and 2020 stats pulled up. This, what you see on the screen currently, is 2021. But I will reference the 2020 stats as well for the players that we have stats on. So, Jacob deGrom, we'll start off with him. Just looks phenomenal. Oh, you know what? There's one small thing I have to do. One small thing that I should have known I was going to have to do. To get Trevor Bauer in here. We're going to put Bauer in for now. He's pitching for the Dodgers at least one of the games. So, let's see. Right on. He's supposed to pitch for the Dodgers, at least that's what we think. So we'll wait for that to update. Let's go ahead and jump into it, and we'll cover that when it comes. But we're going to include, obviously he's not on FanDuel. Regardless, FanDuel's not including that game. DraftKings is the one that did what they did. So we're in that position where we got to discuss it. That being said, deGrom is definitely the standout, without a doubt. I don't think that goes without saying, right? Not exactly a hot take by any means. Look what he's doing this year. 0.51 ERA, and I know. Mets don't give him no type of run support. It's a shame. It's pathetic. It's sad. It's disgusting. Mets have been hot. Maybe that changes. Anyway, 0.051 ERA, 1.39 xFIP, 1.38 SIERA, 48% strikeout rate. He's striking out almost half the batters he's actually seeing. It's crazy. Now, St. Louis does not strike out a ton. Got to give them their due. They could be tough. Well, you know what? They can strike out a lot, but they're typically a little tougher, right? We have to at least acknowledge that. Let me just see one thing. What the hell? Still not doing the dirty. Dirty mode, dirty mode, dirty mode. Alright. Well, that's all I can do. I don't know how the fuck it's not working. It won't work for me. There we go. There we go. Okay. So the reason I wanted to make sure that was updated is because I wanted to make a comparison to Trevor Bauer, last year's Cy Young winner. So if DraftKings this is a DraftKings only thing, but if DraftKings leaves this game on the slate, it's interesting because you've got Bauer against the Cubs, and I did check. There's no significant wind as of now. That could change. The night before, Sunday night, there was no winds blowing out. Come Monday, day of the game, there were like 9 to 10 mile an hour winds blowing at center. So it can change. As of now, no significant wind. Facing a Cubs team that last year and this year, you can see this year they're striking 26% strikeout rate, one of the highest on the slate. And on DraftKings, you get credit for the complete game, even in a 7-inning game. So you're getting an advantage. Bauer is a guy that typically does get a long leash, likes to throw a lot of pitches. He's obviously good. So even though I think DeGrom is the better pitcher, I do have to acknowledge the matchup that Bauer has against the Cubs. Not that they're not a good offense, but that they do strike out a lot. And also the fact that he could go complete game. He has a higher chance of getting a complete game if he pitches well. And then when you factor in he's got a 3.21 xFIP, 2.74 SIERA, 34% strikeout rate, decisions will have to be made, right? But I'm always going to rely on Mr. DeGrom first and foremost. But if they leave Bauer on and you have the opportunity to get a complete game, you may have to just pull the trigger, right? Because he happens to also be cheaper than DeGrom. Aaron Nola, I think, is a legitimate straight-up tournament pivot, right? Not as good of a park. We know that. In Philly, I mean, wasn't going to be a good park in Milwaukee anyway. But the strikeouts, Milwaukee is a team that strikes out a ton. Nola has historically pitched better at home, right? You're making some sacrifices. If we look at last year, Nola's strikeout rate was a little more comparable to Bauer and DeGrom. This year, it's down significantly compared to those guys. Now, I expect them all to kind of level out, right? So I would expect Nola, who's pitched really well, 3.38 xFIP, 3.33 SIERA. I would expect this to increase, and I think it's going to increase in situations like this when he faces teams that do strike out a lot more. So I think Nola is a very interesting tournament pivot, and he is cheap. But again, on DraftKings, if Bauer's on the slate, it's still hard to argue him too strong over Bauer when you factor in the complete game bonuses and all that shit. So if we lose Bauer, then it's the same thing on FanDuel where you're looking at DeGrom and Nola. DeGrom is probably going to have better ownership. Nola's got a better matchup, and you have to make some tough decisions that way. Those are the 3 top pitchers by far. Then we drop off a significant tier. The cheap guy, I think the trendy cheap guy that we will see is going to end up being Nick Pivetta. I think a lot of people won't like Pivetta. Why? Because Nick Pivetta is facing the Tigers, who right now lead the league in strikeout rate, 28.5%. Lowest WOBA, or one of the lowest. It looks like Texas 289, so barely edged him out. One of the second lowest, and then second lowest ISO, tied for the second lowest ISO with Baltimore. Pivetta has a 24% K rate this season. His hard contact rates have been down. His 2.81 ERA seems to be a little fraudulent, considering a 4.98 xFIP and a 5.23 SIERA. That's not good. That's really bad, right? So Detroit could end up being one of the more leveragey stacks, but for now, I do think in cash games, Pivetta will be popular, right? So keep an eye out for Detroit with the leverage. Shout out to MG. What's up, MG? I see you in the chat, man. Making a quick appearance. We appreciate you. OG MG. Find him in the Slack chat. Talking up baseball, basketball, and shit. But yeah, I think Pivetta will be the trendy SP2 on the cheap, right? Let's talk about him. There's other guys we can get into. We're not going to, right? You got a lot of other guys to consider. Just wanted to point out, we see Pivetta. He's been good. Great matchup. But his numbers don't look legitimate. Do we have anything on him last year? Pivetta? It was not good last year. I don't think he pitched the whole ton, though, in the big leagues. So take that for what it's worth. I mean, if you can find a way, and maybe it's with a team like the Tigers or something, if you can find a way to get it to DeGrom, Bauer, Nola, stick with those three guys, I mean, that's kind of where I feel comfortable looking at the rest of these pitchers straight up. There's your Cole Irvins and all this. We can get into that later on tomorrow in the article, whatever. But those are the guys I wanted to touch on because they stood out the most. Top offenses that stood out to me. Just talking about the ones that just stood out to me. I don't care about ownership, nothing. But obviously, we have to look at Mitch Keller. 8.2 ERA. 505 xFIP, 527 SIERA, 27.7% carry. This dude's getting lit up, right? But to switch to the DraftKings screen so we could see just how bad he's been getting lit up. Let's find his punk ass. Where your punk ass at? Oh, man, I did the damn thing. Did the damn thing again. No, wait. I think I did that right. I don't think that was me. Hold up. I don't think I'm the one that made the mistake. I'm starting to think that... Yeah, I didn't make that fucking mistake. Wasn't me. I don't know what the fuck I was just thinking. Now I gotta wait for this damn shit to load. Anyway, the Padres and Keller. What I wanted to look up. Okay, it's here. Yeah. Where you at, bro? Is he not even on here anymore? Here he is. Okay, my bad. Mitch Keller, 4 earned runs, 2 earned runs, 7 earned runs, 1 earned run, 3 earned runs. This dude is getting dollywop, man. He's just been getting lit up. He did have a good game against the Cubs. Shout out to him, right? 1 earned run, 7 Ks, 5 innings. Congratulations. But he's been giving up multiple amounts of runs. Since then, the Padres with a good offense. We know all that shit. Good. So the Padres would stand out to me one of the most. We have some good offenses. It's a big slate. So the ones that stand out are kind of strange. We don't have cores. The Dodger Cub game, even if you have it, you're nervous about it because of the 7-inning thing, right? Philly against Eric Lauer. Philly looked pretty offensively. They looked all right. Eric Lauer did have a troll game against the Dodgers. 3 Ks, 5 ground balls, 5 out. He escaped 5 innings, 73 pitches. Philly is very hit or miss against lefties. Either they strike out a ton, like David Peterson again. Just struck him out like crazy the other day again. I wasn't on the slate, but again, just destroyed him. Or they blast off on him like a Steven Matz situation. So Philly's offense certainly stands out against Lauer, who, we don't think is great, but we recognize he could be trolly. The Red Sox against Fulmer. I think that'll gain some traction. Michael Fulmer in the Detroit bullpen. Fulmer has given up runs. It's been a thing of his. He's not throwing a ton of pitches. 47 most recently, 36 before that. The most he's thrown this season is 78. But he's having a hard time striking hitters out, and he's giving up runs. So, I mean, you got a team like Boston at home in this ballpark. I think Boston will be pretty popular and trendy. And then a team that I don't think will be that popular, but I think is kind of interesting in tournaments, is the A's against Anthony Kay. Anthony Kay has not been all that impressive to me. 4 earned runs against Kansas City in Kansas City. So even though this is a pitcher-friendly park out in Oakland, we still got a team that can mash lefties in Oakland. So I definitely lean towards the Oakland side of that conversation, right? Now we'll get into some things to watch, things that I think are interesting to watch. First, Zach Greinke against the New York Yankees. Yankees seem to be heating up a little bit. Greinke kind of trending in the wrong direction. I don't want to say that, but look, the 2 worst games he's had this season have come against 2 of the worst teams he's faced. One against Seattle, one against Detroit. However, he also had a very dominant game against Seattle, so we want to put that out there. Now he's playing the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. The Yankees should come in low owned because even though people aren't going to rush to play Greinke, I don't think they'll be in a rush to attack him necessarily either on a big ass slate like this. So I'm curious to see which way this goes. I lean towards the Yankee bats. I just don't think Greinke's that great. The problem is, like, do we want to believe that the Yankees are really heating up because they started off the season so cold? But I think the Yankees could be a sneaky low on stack, and I just don't see the reason for pitching Greinke. So if there's any use of that situation, to me, it's the Yankees bats at low ownership. J.A. Happ. So J.A. Happ against Texas. Texas, we know. Well, first let's look at J.A. Happ. This is the things to watch section, right? First, let's look at J.A. Happ. What I want to look at with J.A. Happ is how he's actually done. He's done solid. Okay, not a great game against Detroit, not great against Boston, but 24 against Pittsburgh, they suck. 18 against Cleveland, we get it. But if we look at the numbers behind everything, it's not so pretty. 1.96 ERA is pretty. A 5.42 xFIP and a 5.33 SIERA, 14.9% K rate. Scary territory. I think guys like Nick Solak, Adalis Garcia, is that how you say his name? I don't know. But he's got a 50% fly ball rate. Hard contact rate's been down. We'll give him that 154 BABIP. That's not staying there. So I think the Rangers could also be a sneaky low-owned, maybe cheap. I haven't really looked at the pricing yet, but something to keep an eye on, right? What wins out there? Does J.A. Happ continue to get by on this luck streak, or does a team like the Rangers, who nobody expects to do it? Because I do think people will be pitching J.A. Happ tomorrow. I do. And then a couple other things to watch. Well, there's really two games, and it's the Royals-Cleveland game and the Seattle-Baltimore game. And the reason I have them here in this section, we've got Sam Hedges pitching for Cleveland. We don't have a very large sample size on him, obviously. Didn't have nothing from last year. So he's a lefty against the Royals. Good park. So far, he's had good run boys. But we don't know much about him. We don't know how long he's expected to pitch. Nothing like that. I guess we can kind of see what he's done right now together, right? Let's fucking do it. He's 5'8", so he hasn't thrown more than 53 pitches in a game, but he has been slowly throwing more, so they are trying to stretch him out. And he's been kind of mediocre. 3 strikeouts against the White Sox, but he gave up a home run. 2 strikeouts against Minnesota in 3 innings, gave up 2 home runs. So it seems to be a little homer prone. He is in a really good park for pitching, but I don't think there's going to be any ownership on anything really in that game. Cleveland, Kansas City, so something to keep an eye on. Right? Who's pitching for Kansas City? I saw Jorge Lopez. He used to be that guy. Do we even have a pitcher announced for Kansas City yet? Mike Minor. Okay, yeah. Mike Minor, who you can make an argument to pitch. In the right situation, he's still shown some. But, I mean, he gave up 4 earned runs to Pittsburgh. He's given up a lot of earned runs. So, just again, that game in general. Right? I'm talking these 2 games I think will have some low ownership. I think these games will have some low ownership, and there's probably gonna be something there we want. Seattle, Baltimore, same situation. We've got, I don't think Seattle's even named their pitcher, Justin Dunn, right? Who people can say what you want about Justin Dunn. He's got a nasty slider. I've heard a lot of shit. The numbers tell me he's due to get lit up. Maybe it's not by Baltimore. But at some point, I mean, a 6.35 xFIP and a 5.84 SIERA, that's rough. 52% flat ball rate. So that's why it takes me there, right? I think that the Seattle-Baltimore offenses could be low-owned. And I think that there's something here, right? Baltimore, if this game was in Baltimore, it'd be popular. So while it would be easier to target the game if it was in Baltimore, we're getting low ownership here because it's in Seattle. And then Jorge Lopez, I think, is pitching for Baltimore, right? Yeah. And as you can see, his 7.48 ERA is not, xFIP's not that bad, but it's still it's not good. It's well over 4. So 2 bad offenses, 2 bad teams, 2 bad pitchers, kind of going at it. And so those 2 games, I think are something to keep an eye on. Wes Bearden, Wes Bearden says in the YouTube chat, I want to play Nola and DeGrom together in the same lineups, but I'll need some good value to make it happen. I really don't hate that idea at all. Now, first thing, we have to monitor the weather for DeGrom. St. Louis apparently has some rain in the forecast. We have to monitor that situation. 2, we got to see what happens with Bauer. Because it's going to be hard to pass up on Bauer, on DraftKings at least, if he's got a 7-inning game. Right? On the flip side, I think there are going to be some value stacks. Baltimore-Seattle situation. I haven't checked prices, but I think the Rangers could be cheap. We talked about them. The Tigers, we talked about some leverage situations, right, that could end up coming to fruition, and I think that those are very interesting. So we got some stuff out there. Dong Watch, I'm going for Fernando Tatis, number 1. I do like the Padres. I just expect they'll be popular. But Tatis is the best shortstop in the game, at least offensively. Matt Chapman, we'll go with him against the lefty. I think it's a lefty. pitcher? Yeah, Anthony K. And then we'll go Jorge Soler against Sam Hentges. Hentges has been giving up home runs. We'll go Soler, a lefty masher, and a guy that's very cheap. Because to start, I was kind of looking too, like who could be some value to allow us to get double spend ups on DraftKings. And that nation is going to do it for today's edition of the MLB DFS Wise Stream Massive Slate. Come check out the article, Core Plays article I write at WiseTake.com. We got day passes available. My projections are up there as well as our cheat sheets. Paulie D does his fast break sheet. Goes over his favorite stacks, cheap, expensive, a pitching pool, all that shit. And it's available at WiseTake.com. So I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Please like the video on your way out. Make sure you're subscribed. Please share the show, guys. Share as much as you can. I appreciate you. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.